empower people with knowledge so they can take charge of their health. And really, my passion, my desire at the end of the day is for them to reverse their health problems. Because I've been there, I've been dealing with a lot of problems myself. I know what it is, I know it can impact our life. And now I'm about healing the body naturally. Because the body is meant to heal itself when you provide the right nutrition. And when we say nutrition, one of the tools we use is a diet, right? There's a lot of confusion on there. There's so many different types of diets. There's dozens of different types. And it's a bit confusing of what works, what doesn't work. You may have seen in the news, I was really intrigued to see this article. So the article is entitled, "Scientists Say They Have zeroed in on the World Healthiest Diet." So I was really intrigued when they claimed that. So they apparently, scientists figure out, okay, what's the best diet? So I look out for the article, and this is what I came up about. So this article was published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. So actually, it was an opinion. So it was not even a study. So it was just a few doctors talking about what they believe is the best diet. And the title of this article is "A Pesco Mediterranean Diet with Intermittent Fasting." Okay, Pesco means that the diet is mostly based on whole grains, on vegetables, legumes, and fish, and low in processed meat and red meat. Okay, again, when you start reading this article, you realize that they are into vegetarian, vegan type of diet, and they base their claims on assumption. Okay, we've known for decades that red meat is not necessarily bad. Okay, if you look at the studies done by Western Price or the Blue Zone, for example, all of them will consume animal protein, and some more than others. If you look at the Swedish, for example, they tend to eat a lot of red meat, a lot of meat. The Eskimos, back in the days, the diet was almost 100% animal protein, fat base. So this article was really an opinion about doctors believing what we need to do to be the healthiest. But at the end of the day, they don't touch on why it works, why diet is important. And I talk about it in the past is, I believe when you look at all those populations that are the healthiest or were the healthiest based on the work on Western Price, for example. So it seems that all those tribes, populations, had a way to regulate the toll pathway. I talked about it last week. The toll pathway is turned on when you eat too much carbs, too much sugar, too much protein, and then it promotes inflammation and it accelerates aging. So I believe when you look at all those different populations, because all of them seem to have a diet that is a little bit different, but a little bit similar. For example, that all those populations don't eat processed food. Okay, if you look at the Japanese, for example, it's mostly seafood, fish, based with rice. Okay, if you look at the Eskimos, like I said, 100% animal-based protein and fat. If you look at the some tribes in Africa, so they will eat a lot of red meat, drink milk, and different things. So it seemed that all those different populations had different diets. But at the end of the day, what makes them all in common is it seems that the toll pathway will be turned off by the diet. That's why the human body can really do really well on a wide range of diets. I mean, I see all kinds of people in the office and they come. Some of them are vegan and they do really well. Some of them are carnivore and they do really well. Some of them do keto, some of them do paleo. So we need to figure out what makes sense for your body. So I don't believe there's one specific diet that is the best for everybody, because we all different. We all have our own culture, our own genetics, our own gene expressions, our own health history. Some people take medication, some people are toxic from this, from that. So everybody is different, and not all diet will fit everybody. So the goal is to figure out what makes sense. But one thing that seems to be in common among all those diets is it seems that the toll pathway is down-regulated, meaning that it's not being activated. So when this toll pathway is turned off by a good diet, you actually slow down aging, get rid of the inflammation, you detox better, you feel better, and so on and so on. So we know there's a direct connection. So, actually, when scientists look at or use animal models to study this pathway, like fruit flies or mice or rats, they really clearly see that when this pathway is activated, the animals die sooner. Okay, so it's really clear that there's a direct connection with longevity and this pathway. And the goal is to figure out the diet for you that makes sure that keeps this pathway turned off. And what I see clinically that most people really like, it's low carb, low protein, a lot of fat. So we know that fat turns this pathway off. So fat, all kind of fat, if you like coconut, avocados, nuts, so on and so on, all those fats, it doesn't matter at the end of the day what fats when it comes to the pathway, as long as it's non-processed and natural fat, it really helpful to turn this pathway or keep this pathway off. Okay, and too much protein, again, on the other side, can have the same effect as glucose, okay, or sugar. So you have to make sure you don't eat too much protein, okay, which is similar on the body as sugar, okay, carbs. So yes, there's so many different types of diet out there. There's no diet that fits all of people's needs. So we need to figure out what works for you clinically. Like I said, so the diet that seems to work a lot on people, at least to heal the body, is really low carbs. Carbs is the enemy number one for healing the body. So when I put people on program that allows them to heal and get rid of the medications and their health issues, it's typically a really low carb, sugar, low carb diet. And then when you do that, your body has more resources and energy to heal itself. And we can get rid of all those different problems. And sugar causes not actually slow down detox. So we have to make sure you detox well and so on and so on. So yes, if you saw this article, don't be misled by it. It was an opinion. There was no scientific facts much in this. It was mostly what the doctors believe, what could be the best diet. And the last part of this article was fasting. And they were spot on, actually, when it comes to fasting, because we know fasting, like the toll pathway, can actually slow down aging. As a matter of fact, we know that fasting, if you fast, it turns the toll pathway off. Same thing as when you eat fat. Okay, so eating fat and fasting has the similar mechanisms in the body and similar benefits on the body as well. So fasting is amazing. I recommend it, especially if you have chronic issues. Like, for example, I have this patient who has been dealing with diabetes for a long time, takes insulin, different medications. And then we started to do some fasting with him and teach him how to fast. And it took some time for the body to get used to fasting. And now he's taking half of an insulin, no medication actually, and his body is healing. And it has been shown that fasting can actually reverse diabetes. So it can be really, really powerful. So what I did with him, and that what I recommend with people, is to do the 8-16 fast. So meaning you ate your calories over 8 hours and you fast for 16 hours. Typically, me personally, I don't eat breakfast. So I skip breakfast and I eat from 1 to 9. So that's my 8-hour window. And then 8 o'clock at night, I don't eat anymore. And then I fast all the way to 1 p.m. the next day. It works really, really good for my body. I like it. I have good energy. Some people cannot skip breakfast. Some people need to eat breakfast. That's okay. So you figure out what works for you. So you may have to skip your dinner, for example. So you have to play with this. And I recommend to slowly get to 16 hours. You may want to try 12 hours initially, and then 13 hours and 14 hours, and slowly ease into this and get to 16 hours, because it's not easy for the body to skip a meal and not having calories for 16 hours. I hope it makes sense. If you have any question, let me know. You can write a comment below. Thank you for watching. God bless you all.